It looks like ownership of Faze Clan has officially changed hands, with the original founders returning to some form of power after what feels like years of infighting and the constant tarnishing of the reputation of Faze. Dexerto reported this morning that Faze Clan's OG founders returned to power after being acquired by GameSquare. Banks to be CEO of Faze Clan, Temper as president, Apex as COO, and they say, quote, founders are focused on refreshing the Faze Clan brand, re-engaging with its core fan base. So I popped over to the article here. This was literally posted at 6:30 this morning, so just a couple of hours ago. On October 20th, GameSquare announced they had entered into a definitive agreement that will see the company acquire Faze Clan in an arm's length all stock transaction. Faze Clan went public in 2022, but their short time on the Nasdaq was far from smooth sailing, eventually failing to maintain a share price above $1, the requisite amount to remain listed on the exchange. Crucially, GameSquare's takeover will return the founding members of Faze to leadership positions, namely Richard Bankston aka Faze Banks to be CEO of Faze Clan, which will operate as a wholly owned subsidiary and independent division of GameSquare. Thomas Oliveira, Faze Temper, to be president of Faze Clan, and Youssef, I'm sorry brother, Faze Apex, to be COO of Faze Clan. Joining forces with GameSquare creates greater scale and exciting opportunities in the emerging market for gaming and youth culture, stated Christoph Patchler, interim CEO of Faze Clan. Now if you guys recall, about a month ago the CEO of Faze Clan was actually fired. This was September 13th, so just a little over 1 month ago. But for the past few years, Lee Trink has been the CEO of Faze Clan, and honestly it is shocking that Lee Trink had not been fired sooner. Here The Verge says Faze Clan faced large losses under Trink's leadership, including a reported 48.7 million from operations last year. Per Bloomberg, shares have plummeted to 18 cents from over $20, and we could see that here. This is the all-time this is the all-time chart for Faze Holdings aka Faze Clan over on the Nasdaq. As you can see, they had an IPO initially. This shot up to about, it looks like $16-17, about 20 bucks, and within the last year it's gone from there all the way down to what we're at now. But right now there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because the other day it was reported that Faze Clan stock went up 25% after winning the Halo World Championship, which is hilarious because 25% brought it from like 17 cents to 20 cents. Like, damn bro, that's crazy. Oh no, 22, my bad. Whew. Now apparently Lee Trink being relieved of his position in September, that is the nicest way to put it by the way, was reportedly a component of the deal going through. So basically GameSquare was like, look, we'll buy you guys, but that dude's gotta go. And like, yeah bro, true. And what's interesting is GameSquare is also the owner of rival esports brand Complexity Gaming, as well as Code Red Esports, a talent agency. The gaming community represents one of the largest and most engaged segments of the attention economy, states Justin Kenna, CEO of GameSquare. The acquisition of one of the biggest names in gaming serves as a perfect illustration of how we have built a powerful infrastructure with expansive scale that we can use to leverage the full spectrum of resources within the GameSquare ecosystem. We're also thrilled to welcome back the founders of Faze and their fans, one of the most deeply engaged communities born on the internet. Speaking on the founders, one of the chief criticisms of Faze direction in recent years was the lack of involvement from the original founding members and previous owners. Banks will return as CEO, and he says, quote, I'm confident that with Tommy, Apex, and me back in charge of the brand, Faze Clan will get back to where it was in its peak years. We grew up on the internet and understand this brand better than anyone ever could. We are grateful to have found a partner in GameSquare who sees that value in us and can help execute our vision. We're going to produce first, talk later. And I think that's huge, right? Because with the way the brand has gone in the last few years, we've seen various NFT scams, crypto things, tons of like apparel collabs with companies that like are kind of cool, but when that's all you ever do as a brand, it just feels like a massive sellout. So the fact that they know, and of course they know this, right? Of course Banks knows you first have to come with the results and then they'll talk later. They're not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, Faze is going to be back to its former glory and all this. They're just going to do it. They're just going to show everybody, and that's going to be it. And we'll see if they can actually do it, because to be honest with you guys, it's going to be a Herculean task to save the Faze Clan brand. Now I think the first step is getting the founders back involved. That is massive. Okay, that is obviously massive, and that's something that Faze Rain has actually been advocating for forever. This trick shot being sort of the number one thing on Faze Rain's Twitter account right now is kind of ironic, because one of the things about FaZe is that they kind of blew up in prominence and in popularity with the popularity of Call of Duty, and over the last few years Call of Duty has probably been the least popular that it's ever been. So how FaZe Clan is going to come back to that scene and regain its prominence is going to be really interesting, especially amid an esports scene that is basically a shell of its former self. Esports has effectively been gutted. Esports has basically been unprofitable across the board, across all organizations and different games, right? Whether you're talking about Call of Duty esports, Overwatch, League of Legends, in the United States, it's basically been mega unprofitable since the very beginning. So how FaZe Clan is going to overcome those massive hurdles to come back to what it once was is going to be really interesting to see. But if anybody can do it, I think it's probably the original founders. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that Mr. Beast actually pointed this out, the fact that the total value of FaZe Clan was so low that FaZe Rug could have basically just bought it himself. Okay, here we see on the tweet from Dexerto just a couple of days ago, 4 days ago at this point, Mr. Beast said, does that say it's worth 17 million? And he's referring to the market cap right down here. Okay, he said, FaZe Rug, couldn't you just buy FaZe at this point? And he said, let's go 50-50, which I think would have been hilarious, and surely a half ownership of Mr. Beast would have skyrocketed FaZe Clan to prominence. But right now it's no wonder that this accusation is taking place. FaZe has never been worth less, literally, like it is literally worthless, right? So the fact that GameSquare came in and scooped it up is amazing, and I think that they're buying FaZe Clan for what it is actually worth. Okay, the initial public offering and the original valuation of FaZe Clan was an elephant in the room. Okay, these esports brands and organizations have been massively overvalued based on literally just hype and basically Silicon Valley angel investors just giving them a ton of money and hoping that it works out, and we know that it has not been working out. So basically GameSquare came in with the lowball offer and got FaZe Clan for what arguably is what they're actually worth. Now, besides that quote from FaZe Banks in the article, he has not said at this moment in time anything on Twitter. The reported new president, FaZe Temper, also has not made any statements here on Twitter, and neither has FaZe Apex. It's interesting to see that FaZe Rain wasn't mentioned at all in the original article, and this is my favorite response to the entire thing. Banks to former executives, like, look at me, he's back, boys. But the fact that FaZe Rain was not mentioned at all in this article is kind of telling. Okay, now FaZe Rain is arguably one of the reasons why there's been this massive push over the last 6 to 12 months for the original founders to get back into control of FaZe Clan. Around the time that former CEO Lee Trink was relieved of his position, FaZe Rain posted this on Twitter. He said, also, I'm just gonna say it respectfully, since 2015 I have been unbelievably against the original CEO or anyone corporate joining. Remember, I'm only 1/4 of the owners. It was always 3 out of 4 that would make a decision happen. So he's basically saying majority wins. I was making $300,000 a month at 18, dude. I clearly did not want any part with corporate people, their money, or manipulation. My mentality was always, let's just make the money ourselves so no one else can tell us what to do. Been getting outvoted since 2015, and I've always been the difficult one because I don't fall for their bullshit. I will always take accountability for everything I've ever done. I have been against this since day one because I knew this would happen. However, they trusted the old rich guys instead. This all comes months after the massive drama with FaZe Grace, who I believe is no longer in FaZe anymore. She was basically the latest recruit to FaZe Clan, and FaZe Rain made a huge deal about this, saying like, what is the organization doing? What's the CEO doing? People in power have no idea what FaZe Clan even is if they're bringing on talent like this. And I don't know much about Grace. She could be good at games, talented, whatever, it doesn't really matter. From somebody, you know, just, and this is my personal opinion at this point, but as somebody who has been following FaZe since the literal very beginning, it did feel very weird to be recruiting her, especially after those in power at FaZe came out and said, yeah, we're recruiting her because she's a girl. And it's like, is that really, like, you're recruiting her because she's just a checkbox? That feels kind of weird. It doesn't feel genuine. And, you know, again, this is not anything personal against her, but I think FaZe Rain kind of had a point there, even though there was a lot of hate and negativity that went around the community because of that whole drama scene that probably shouldn't have happened. But regardless, GameSquare is set to be the new owner of Faze Clan, and according to this, at least 3 of the 4 original founding members are going to be in pretty high levels of power back within Faze Clan, which I think is the happy ending, but it's also just the beginning. Are we actually going to see Faze Clan return to prominence? Are we going to see content first? I suspect we will. How will they come back to doing content? Will it be mostly live streams as a group, creating content together? I can't wait to see what happens next with Faze Clan, and I hope that this is the turning of a new leaf and that we're going to get back on track with some really awesome stuff in the future. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed this video, drop a thumbs up on it. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out into the YouTube algorithm so other people might see it. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time that I upload a video. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.